Hey everybody, this is Steli Efti with Close.io, and in today's video I'm going to share with you just a few simple secrets on how to crush your demo day pitch and presentation. So I don't know, I see it seems to be the season or so, but I'm getting a lot of people, are sending me emails and asking me for questions because they're preparing for their incubator demo day pitch. I've just spoken at YC, I've spoken at 500 startups. I'm talking to a number of incubators, and the startups there are just starting to prepare and get into the mind frame of giving the best pitch of their life for the demo day presentation. And I've realized that I've repeated myself a number of times, so I thought I'd share some of those tips with you, but then also invite others who have gone through the experience successfully to share their tips with all of us so we all can raise the game and get the most out of that once in a lifetime opportunity of presenting in front of a room full of hopefully amazing investors at your demo day. All right, so what are some things that you should keep in mind? Well, there's a lot of tactics, and depending on which incubator you're going to be a part of and what they teach you and what format they use and how many minutes they give you to make a presentation and what they value more, things will slightly differ and be differentiated. But there's a number of things that are, I think, universally true that aren't taught at those incubators, and those are the things that I'm going to share, right? So there's some clear and obvious tips. You have a limited amount of time, so you need to make sure that your presentation is very clear and concise. You want to make sure that you have those top 2 or top 3 things you want those investors to be able to remember at the end of the presentation. You want to be really clear on what those things are, and you want to spell them out very directly, maybe even at the beginning of the presentation and at the end of it. There was a time where a lot of YC startups would summarize every single demo day pitch with, okay, here's the 3 things you should remember, right? And obviously you can overdo all of these tactics, but you want to have real clarity on what the message is, and the message can't be too many things at once, right? Mainly because you have to remember the greater context of things. So this is my number 1 tip. You want to look at your pitch, right? But you want to also understand the greater context in which you are presenting that pitch. It's not like all these investors will come into that room and you're going to get on stage with your, whatever it is, 2, 3, or 5 minutes of time, and you make a single presentation, and then you leave the room again, and that's it. That's the end of the demo day. That might be the end for you, but for most of these investors, for your audience, they're going to look and weed through 20, 30, 40 presentations at a time. So you have to remember that after a few of these demos and pitches, the investors are going to be pretty fried in terms of their brain. There's just an overload of information. There's just one startup after the other. And especially if you are presenting towards the end of the day, you just need to realize that people's capacity to listen and to pay attention and to remember is going to be very, very limited, right? Every person in that room just has a limited amount of attention, and they're probably going to spend it pretty quickly. So you need to be aware of that. And if there's something in your presentation you really want them to pay attention to, and don't say everything, it needs to be something, you want to highlight that. You want to say things like, this is the most important part of our presentation, right? Say something that will make people look up from their iPhones or Blackberries or whatever it is, their phones, and be like, all right, somebody said I really need to pay attention to, so let me just give them a few seconds of my precious attention. You want to make sure that you know where you are in the entire day. Are we at the beginning? Are we in the middle, or at the end? And who's coming, who are the few companies before us, and who are the few startups that present right after us? What do their pitches look like, right? If you think about your little part as part of a bigger day, as part of a bigger kind of performance, you are going to be able to recognize if maybe something about your presentation is too repetitive, because the 3 starters before you, they all say the same thing at the end of the presentation, so you shouldn't, right? You just shouldn't. Or the 3 starters before you were, all talking about, all making the presentation all around storytelling, and now you have something that's very dry, you share a lot of spreadsheets and numbers. How can you think about it from the audience's point of view? Or maybe everybody before you is kind of super dry and super scientific. So what you want to do is kind of take them from that part and give them a presentation that's more storytelling, that's a little lighter, that makes them smile, maybe laugh. You need to know where your placing is going to be and your presentation is going to be in context, in greater context towards the entire day, but also in more direct context towards what is the startup that's going to be doing a pitch before us and after us going to say. That actually matters, and you should know about that. You need to make sure that you stand out a little bit. In one way or another, this is a competition of standing out, right? And obviously, the best way to stand out is that your numbers are just so insanely good and so much better than everybody else's that you stand out because of the quality of your team, the quality of your traction, quality of your numbers. But on top of that, you can do things to make you connect with the audience and make you stand out, right? If you are super outlandish and loud, then be that. Be the biggest version of that. Maybe you want to just dress more ridiculously than others, if that's your thing, right? Maybe you want to, I don't know, just be more fun, be more outspoken. Or if that's not your thing and your culture and your team is super, super quiet and super kind of introverted, then you want to find a way to play with that. You want to be yourself and be fully authentic, but you also want to make sure that you highlight what you have and what makes you distinct from everybody else. That's not the day to fit in, that's a day to stand out. And that's something a lot of people forget. Demo day is not the day to fit in, not to be just like everybody else. Demo day is your chance to stand out. And you need to stand out if you want to grab people's attention and imagination, especially in a day where they come into a room, sit down, and listen to one pitch after the other. And every single pitch has at its core and its goal to say that we're the greatest startup ever and you should invest in us. Right? How many times can you hear that before you kind of zoom out and you don't pay attention anymore? Ask yourself that question and make sure that you find a way to stand out. You might find a way to highlight what makes you distinct. And find a way to make the few people, instead of trying to optimize to make everybody in the audience loves you, make sure you truly understand who is going to be your ideal investor and make sure that person loves you and maybe everybody else hates you, right? That's a much better success rate at the end of your pitch than making everybody equally be indifferent to whatever you just said. The next tip that I'm going to give is make sure that you create some filters for all the noise that's going to ensue right after demo day. So Demo day, by definition, for most incubators, is a day where a number of startups that were part of a batch or a class will present in front of a large group of investors. And the idea behind this is to create an instant market for your funding round, right? To have instantly all investors know about you, all investors desire you, and enable you to get pick the best investors and close the round in the best possible way in a short period of time, right? Without wasting too much time, energy, and effort on it. So, and that's the beauty of it, right? If it's done right and if it is successful. One of the challenges with this is that these rooms and these demo days have become so popular and populated and overfilled that there's going to be a lot of noise to signal ratio, right? The noise to signal ratio is going to be pretty high. So you need to make sure that you filter out a lot of that noise to find the right people right away. And there's different ways to do that. One is obviously to make a presentation that's not just inclusive, but excludes certain people. A presentation that stands for something, but is against something else. So certain investors are not interested just by nature of your presentation. The next thing you can do is to know exactly what you want, in the sense that you know what is the funding terms you want, what is the timeline you want to close around, and you can, if you feel comfortable, be super aggressive about this. So here's a story that I'll share about our round. When I made the presentation afterwards with a lot of people interested in our round, and one way that I wanted to weed kind of the people that are not serious, there's going to be a lot of people that are just casually interested because they want to meet with you, but there's very little chance that they're actually going to invest in your startup. So how do I weed all these out because I don't want to waste my time with them? Well, the way that I did it is that I was very, very aggressive and had a high level of clarity on what we wanted and what we didn't want. So I got about 30 or 40 investors to email us right after demo day, and every single person I replied with an answer that was basically, hey, I'm super honored that you're interested. We are planning to close the round within 2 weeks, and with these 3 core terms. If the timeline and the terms fit into your worldview and work for you, let's jump on a quick call and chat and explore this further. If this is too aggressive or if this doesn't work for you, no hard feelings, let's stay friends and let's connect maybe in a few months when time is not as busy for us and for you to kind of start building our relationship for maybe future fundraising rounds, right? So that was basically like, if you can't do it in 2 weeks and with those terms, don't even talk to me. I sent that email out to like those 30 or 40 people, and I felt pretty good about myself. I thought that I'm a badass, that I'm rocking and rolling. And then the first 5 replies came in, and all of them were basically, thanks, but no thanks. And then I started to not feel that great anymore, right? I was like, holy shit, did I fuck up demo day? Did I destroy our chances to raise the round? Did I piss off all these investors? Did I create a horrible reputation for myself? And I started not being as self-confident, as confident as I was when I sent out those emails. And then, as the law of numbers has it, the 6th reply came in, and that person was like, you know what? The timeline and the terms work for me. I'm really interested. Let's talk. And boom, I felt again like a genius, right? I was like, I'm the greatest fundraiser ever, and I'm so awesome, and I felt good about myself. And the thing is this, it worked out for us really, really well. And honestly, we didn't close the round within 2 weeks. It was more like 3.5 or 4 weeks. But who cares? Nobody ever challenged us on that. The only reason why I challenged people with a tight timeline and high clarity in terms of our terms, and our terms were aggressive, was that I wanted to weed out the people that were not really interested. And I accomplished that. Out of the 30 or 40, maybe just 6 were truly interested, but those were highly productive conversations, and most of them ended up investing, and they introduced us to everybody else that followed on the round. And we closed our round quickly with the right investors, and we were happy with great terms. And not to say that it would work for you as well, not to say that this is a tactic everybody should use. It's an aggressive tactic that worked for us. But the core principle here is that you need to find some way not to have to meet with 40 people and waste your time and energy in all kinds of directions. You want to hyper-focus and laser-focus on the few people that have the highest chance to invest and are the right investors for you, and say no thanks to everybody else, which is a tough thing to say because you're always going to be in doubt if some of these people could be great investors, and if you're, losing opportunities, and you're always going to have fear of missing out. But you can't afford to meet with everybody and push everything slightly forward. Nothing is going to progress. You're going to take those few opportunities and devote all your energy to push that forward versus, go so wide that you can't progress any deal fast enough to make a difference. So that's, my recommendation is find a way to filter out all the bullshit from the people that are truly interested and are likely to invest. And then last but not least, you really, so you want to, possibly you want to have a list of your preferred top 10, right? A lot of times after demo day, you're able to actually go back into the crowd and shake hands and kiss babies and talk to people. Have clarity on who you want to talk to and why. Make sure you don't just go for the popular or famous investors, but the ones that are right for you, the ones that have a track record that aligns with what you want to accomplish, the ones that are interested in your space. And make sure that you proactively go out and talk to these people. And if they don't reach out to you, you reach out to them. And then last but not least, use back channel communication to progress things after demo day. After demo day, you need to think about this, that all these hot opportunities, they have a shelf life that's very, very short. Within a few days, these investors are going to be meeting with lots and lots of startups. And they're going to, they also just have a limited amount of money, energy, attention. So they're going to quickly weed out all the ones that they just find mildly interesting to those that they are passionate about. And you want to make sure that you become a priority in this process as good as you can, and you want to utilize all the resources possible to make that. I've written about this and talked about this before in terms of back channel communication, but here's a practical tip of how we use this. We had one investor, one VC firm that we really wanted to work with, and they told us, they're really, really interested, but their partner meetings for the next 4 weeks were all booked out. So the earliest they could meet with us would be in 5 or 6 weeks. That was far too far away for us, for our liking. So what did we do? We went to YC to the YC offices. I grabbed PG and I told them, PG, we really want this VC. They tell us the next 5 partner meetings are booked out. Can you do me a favor and can you send them a quick email telling them that we're the hottest shit and that they should really get their shit together and reschedule their calendar and get us in this Monday? And he said, yeah, sure, I can do that. I think you guys are awesome. I think that they would be great investors for you. I'm happy to do that. So I turned around my laptop. It was incognito mode, and I was like, just log into Gmail and do it right now, right? The power of right the fuck now. So he did that, and 2 hours later, we get a reply. We get an email from that investor saying, you know what? Spot just opened. just opened. And we're happy to see you, it was a Thursday or something. We're happy to see you this Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific. We did the partner meeting on Monday. By Tuesday, we had the go ahead and they became an investor in our round. Use your investors, use your advisors, use other startups in your incubator that have raised money from that investor. Use anyone and everyone you can to create back channel communication to, either push and stimulate that the investor, moves up their timeline or moves quicker or is more interested, or to really get the truth. Sometimes you might meet with an investor, they tell you, we're really, really interested. All we need is just this tiny little thing, but please just give it to us because I promise you we're going to invest. And you're not sure, is that just bullshit or is that the truth? Well, use a back channel to find out. Go to somebody that they know and trust and ask them, can you ping this person, tell them some good things about us, and find out if they truly are interested or not. Magic can happen when you use back channel communication to make things progress and move forward faster. And that's your number one goal right after demo day, right? Demo day is this highly specific moment in time. You need to squeeze every little bit of juice out of it right after. There's no time to take things slow. It's time to push the pedal to the metal. All right, that's it. Those are some of the tips that I have. I hope these were useful to you, and I can't wait to hear your comments below. Make sure to go to blog.close.io and subscribe to our blog 2 to 3 times a week, highly tactical and strategic advice around startups, sales, and entrepreneurship. And if you want to get in touch with me and get feedback around your demo day pitch, just shoot me an email, stelly@close.io. Always happy to help if I can.